The Egyptians, they had the hieroglyphics. They could write. We couldn't write then. That was the only way we could write. And so those things were kept then. Like that.
And they had meaning.
They had meaning to us. That is why we say when the British removed those things,
it took like part of our history.
Yanking away chapters of our history.
So how do we want to share the message of that history? How do we want to enlighten our children that this is our history? This dates back to 18th century. Because when you go to British Museum, another museum around the world, and you see some of those things, or 1806, 1892, you begin to think, wow, somebody did this so many years ago. What about the ones we have? Why are we not showcasing them so that our children will know that we were not just a bunch of barbarians who didn't know how to do anything?
Prince, especially since some of them have been posting on the internet, what's all the fuss? Isn't it just an idol?
They were not idols. Unfortunately, those who now are reacting, describing them as such, are the people who do not now see the need to keep those things the way they are. Now, as I told you, they were records of our history. I'll give you a recent example. During the Oba's coronation in 1979, the present Oba here, my brother, you have seen his regalia, coronation regalia. And there was one particular item that escaped the British looters. That one was there. He had finished dressing. They didn't know where to place that particular item in his regalia. So they saw the bronze cast of that very thing, one of them, and they went to it and looked at it, and they saw on that very bronze cast that item they were talking about. So they knew where to place it. That was done. Now we know how to read, we know how to write. So we don't need to keep our records by
bronzes
and casting bronzes. So that's what it is. The ones in the British Museum and everywhere else, they are kept clean, they invest a lot of money protecting them in the museums and so on. But because it's an investment to them, they are making a lot of money, getting people, tourist attraction, getting people to go there. If you get to the British Museum or any museum in the world, the section where the Benin works are kept, usually you find it's almost the largest part.
Premium interest.
Yes. So that's why they have to invest to keep it clean about that.
And so the ones we have here, are we taking advantage in that sense by encouraging people to come to the Oba's Palace to see some of them?
We don't really have a museum now in the Oba's Palace. Even at that time, there was no museum in the Oba's Palace. They were just on altars, on sacred places, and so on. And nobody, of course, got to them. They were not worshipped. They were not idols. They were just there, and people recognized them as ours. The bells, for instance, all the altars in Benin had bells, and they used the bells to invoke the gods, the ancestors, anytime they were going to communicate or commune with them.
Okay. Does that still happen?
Yeah, we still have ancestral worship in Benin.
Okay.
Yeah, we recognize our ancestors, just as the modern people, the Christians, also recognize theirs. The saints you talk about in the Holy Book are people's ancestors.
Okay. Now, Dr. Walker, how true is it that you have found some other grandchildren of some other soldiers who were involved in that looting, and you're actually on a campaign to get them to return those things?
Perhaps that's slightly overstating the case.
Okay, all right.
We haven't found grandchildren, but we've found some evidence that property taken from, that might have been taken from Benin was passed on by the descendants of one of the officers involved. I can't remember the name of it, and given to Essex University. It's quite possible that is a Benin bronze. So we want to chase that up and see if we can persuade Essex to repatriate.
So is this looking like Life Ambition inspired to make sure that you bring it all back?
I don't mind being an example to others, but
yes.
I've got lots of other things to do.
Okay. So, but when you look at how people felt, the government of Edo State, the Oba and the Prince and the number of other people from here, how they feel, how happy they are that you return it. How do you feel on the inside? One feeling? Or?
Indeed, I'm almost overwhelmed. I did expect some enthusiasm when I came, but I had no idea there would be this level of enthusiasm. I was greeted after the presentation yesterday by men, women and children of all ages, from the very young to the very old, who all wanted to shake my hand and to tell me how important,
how grateful
they thought this action was. Clearly, some people are absolutely convinced that it is that Benin is the proper place for the Benin bronzes, which date back hundreds of years, incidentally, to 15th century.
15th century.
Okay, so well, as we wrap up, let's come back home to Benin. I know most of the time people will say that don't mix tradition and the monarch with politics, but the politics of Benin, as it begins to get heated with what is going on in the State Assembly, is there any thoughts on your side? What's your thought?
Well, I think the Oba exemplified this I think a week ago or whatever. He invited all the politicians, all the politicians around in town, different parties, to the palace, and he talked to them and asked them to go and shape their swords and mind the business of governance in Benin. Well, I am a traditional ruler, I'm not a partisan politician, but as a traditional ruler, my opinion is the same as that of other traditional rulers in Benin and in fact in the whole state. We have seen the governance of the present government as something quite positive. We've seen that the government today is doing what has never been done in this state ever since, and we're all quite happy, and we are quite in support, because as traditional rulers in this place, if people are hungry, if they're sick, they cry to us. They don't even cry to the government because the government is transient. It's there, the governor, the president, everybody's there for maybe 4 years, 8 years, and they're gone. We are there perpetually for our people. So it's to all they cry and say this is what is really happening. Therefore, when any traditional ruler sees anybody, any man or woman who is doing for our people, trying to relieve the sufferings of our people, trying to make them feel satisfied and happy, we are happy. We regard such a person as a friend of the people. And that's our own regard today. about our present governor in Edo State, because he came here and we saw it was there on the ground what he did in this place. In 2 years, first 2 years, he did here in this state what was never done in the previous government for 10 or 12 years, 8 or 10 years. Nothing like that was done. So we're quite happy. And, well, you only need, people do ask questions like you're asking now, and people have to answer. But without even asking questions, if you could ask the roads, if you could ask the schools, if you could ask the health centers in town, say, look, how are you now? If they could talk, they'll tell you, look, we never had it so good.
Okay. Now, I'd like to say that the Oba has spoken.
Yes.
So we are expecting some kind of resolution to the matter that is happening, because the importance of the Oba of Benin cannot be overstated. When he speaks, he is obeyed. Thank you very much for coming. Prince Edu Akenzua Enogie of Obazua and Dr. Adrain Mark-Walker, who did the unprecedented, found stuff belonging to Nigeria, to the Benin Kingdom, and actually took the initiative and returned them. I'd like to say, on behalf of the people of Benin and the people of Nigeria, thank you very much, Dr. Adrain, and thank you for coming on Sunrise this morning.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure.
Sunrise will